Thank you for joining us for this Chol HaMoed. We now join the discussion in progress. All right. We begin our Shabbat within the Passover, and it's called Chol HaMoed. And it's a special Shabbat because it occurs within Passover. And the Torah reading starts from Shemot or Exodus 33rd chapter 12th verse to the 34th chapter 26th verse. And there are also so many other symbolisms regarding this time. And I would urge anyone who really wants to delve deeper into the symbolisms of the Passover and how it relates to our Messiah, Yeshua Jesus, to visit the Hebrew for Christians website. And now, let's read this 1 minute. Sorry. ויאמר משה אל אדוני, רואה אתה אמר לי, העל את העם הזה, ואתה לא הודעתני את אשר תשלח עמי, ואתה אמרת ידעתך בשם וגם מצאן בעיני. Moses said to the Lord, see, you say to me, lead this people forward, but you have not made known to me whom you shall send with me. Further, you have said, I have singled you out by name, and you have indeed gained my favor.
Psalm 128. Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. When you eat the labor of your hands, you shall be happy, and shall be well, and it shall be well with you. Your wife shall be like a fruitful vine in the very heart of your house. Your children like olive plants all around your table. Behold, thus shall the man be blessed who fears the Lord. The Lord bless you out of Zion, and may you see the good of Jerusalem all the days of your life. Yes, may you see your children's children. Peace be upon Israel. This is the word of the Lord. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. May your kingdom come. May your will be done. We thank you, Lord, for this Shabbat. But moreover, Lord, this time we recall the deliverance of your children out of Egypt. And you reestablished your covenant, and you fulfilled the promise you made to Abraham to bring your people into a land that flows with milk and honey. The land that was promised to Abraham. And you, Lord God, on this day you have brought them out and have set before them your command that they should live within it. And you called upon every generation to celebrate this event. And we just celebrate this week, that time this week. We acknowledge our freedom. We acknowledge the great grace and mercy of God, who has called a people to himself and has promised to remain with us even though we fail. The Lord God never fails. And you have made them free. And Christ has also come at the same time to make us free, to pay the price that we could not pay. And so we are both free, and we enjoy this great the great fulfillment that Christ made through the perfect sacrifice, the sacrifice bulls and cattle cannot make. And help us, Lord, enjoy your presence and continue to cleanse us from sin, that we may enjoy the presence of the Son and the Father and the Holy Spirit. This we ask in the name of our Christ Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min sa'ar. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives us bread from the earth. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Berei pri hagafen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
And it is indeed a special Shabbat because it happens at the end of the week of Pesach, of Passover. And so I think we're going to have an interesting discussion because I handed out the wrong Parsha. I said it was going to be Shemini, but Shemini is next week. So we will read from Exodus and then discuss it. As I was reading it and getting ready for it, Moses' words really pricked my heart. I really thought that was the most interesting thing that he said to the Lord. And so we'll read it. It's not very long. And then we'll do our discussion, take a small break, and eat our larger meal and continue with the discussion. As I said before, I don't think I recorded this part, but the Passover is filled with symbolism. We had our Seder on Monday evening, and our Seder, again, is not separated from the death and death of our Messiah. It was a forerunner or a practice for that. And so if we keep it in that context, then we will really see a lot of things. As it happens, Easter is this Sunday, and today a lot of people celebrate this as Good Friday. But if we really study, you'll find that most people assume that Christ was crucified on a Friday and rose on a Sunday morning, but that's not 3 days and 3 nights in the grave. So evidently there's a problem there. And when I was a little girl, there was a problem. We asked about that. Well, Friday to Saturday is not 3 days and 3 nights. And everybody tried to wriggle around it and say, well, it's this and that. But if we put it back within the context of the Torah, we find out that Yeshua was not crucified on Friday. And also I think probably the thing that threw a lot of people off was they talk about the crucifixion happening during Sabbath. Well, there are many Sabbaths, as we know, within the laws that God gave. There's the seventh day Sabbath, and Sabbath means rest. And then there are other Sabbaths where festivals occur, and that's where the problem, where the disconnect came in, why people got mixed up, because they thought the Sabbath meant only the seventh day Sabbath. So right then and there is a lot that you can discover, and a lot you can discover where people kind of went off track. That they're off track in terms of when Jesus was crucified and when he was resurrected. So this is a very good teachable moment, and during this Passover, which I love Passover, I think that the Lord, because we're trying to get on track, that the Lord will honor that, and that he will reveal his richest truths to us. And so what I'm going to do is just read the entire scripture from the 33rd through the 12th, and then you can have at it and discuss it, because there, like I said, we could sit here all night and be discussing it, and you'll find nuggets, and you'll wonder, oh gosh, this is the season of liberation. I like that. That's what the Hebrew for Christians had on their timeline, because they have a beautiful timeline, and it is a season of the liberation. Again, not only in commemorating the Exodus of Egypt, but also that I remember that this was a rehearsal for Messiah coming. So it's our liberation from sin, because our Messiah has died and paid the ultimate price to be a covering for our sin. And so we began at Exodus 30-12. And again, my heart, when I read this, my heart ached. It says, Moses said to the Lord, "See, you say to me, lead this people forward, but you have not made known to me whom you will send with me. Further, you have said, I have singled you out by name, and you have indeed gained my favor. Now, if I have truly gained your favor, pray let me know your ways, that I may know you and continue in your favor. Consider too that this nation is your people." And he said, "I will go in the lead and will lighten your burden." And he said to him, "Unless you go in the lead, do not make us leave this place. For how shall it be known that your people have gained your favor unless you go with us, so that we may be distinguished, your people and I, from every people on the face of the earth?" And the Lord said to Moses, "I will also do this thing that you have asked, for you have truly gained my favor, and I have singled you out by name." And he said, "Oh, let me behold your presence." And he answered, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim before you the name Lord, and the grace that I grant, and the compassion that I show." But he said, "You cannot see my face, for man may not see me and live." And the Lord said, "See, there is a place near me. Station yourself on the rock. And as my presence passes by, I will put you in a cleft of the rock, and shield you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take my hand away, and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen." The Lord said to Moses, "Carve 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will inscribe upon the tablets the words that were in the first tablets, which you shattered. Be ready by morning, and in the morning come up to Mount Sinai, and present yourself there to me, on the top of the mountain. No one else shall come up with you, and no one else shall be seen anywhere on the mountain. Neither shall the flocks and the herds graze at the foot of this mountain." So Moses carved 2 tablets of stone, like the first, and early in the morning he went up on Mount Sinai, as the Lord had commanded him, taking the 2 stone tablets with him. The Lord came down in a cloud. He stood with him there and proclaimed the name Lord. And the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord, a God compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and faithfulness, extending kindness to the 1000th generation, forgiving iniquity transgression and sin, yet he does not remit all punishment, but visits the iniquities of fathers upon children, and children's children upon the third and fourth generation. Moses hastened to bow low to the ground in homage, and said, If I have gained your favor, O Lord, pray let the Lord go in our midst, even though this is a stiff-necked people. Pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for your own. And he said, I hereby make a covenant. Before all your people I will work such wonders as have not been wrought on all the earth, or in any nation, and all the people who are with you shall see how awesome are the Lord's deeds, which I perform for you. Mark well what I command you this day. I will drive out before you the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. Beware of making a covenant with the inhabitants of the land against which you are advancing, lest they be a snare in your midst. No, you must tear down their altars, smash their pillars, and cut down their sacred posts. For you must not worship any other God, because the Lord whose name is an impassioned God. You must not make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, for they will lust after their gods, and sacrifice to their gods, and invite you, and you will eat of their sacrifices. And when you take wives from among their daughters, for your sons, their daughters will lust after their gods, and will cause your sons to lust after their gods. You shall not make molten gods for yourself. You shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, eating unleavened bread for 7 days, as I have commanded you, at the set time of the month of Abib. For in the month of Abib you went forth from Egypt. Every firstborn of the womb is mine, and from all your livestock that drop a male is firstling, whether cattle or sheep. But the firstling of an ass you shall redeem with the sheep. If you do not redeem it, you must break its neck, and you must redeem every firstborn among your sons. None shall appear before me empty-handed. 6 days you shall work, but on the 7th day you shall cease from labor. You shall cease from labor even at plowing time and harvest time. You shall observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of the wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the turn of the year. 3 times a year all your males shall appear before the sovereign Lord, the God of Israel, and I will drive out nations from among your path, and enlarge your territory. No one will covet your land when you go up to appear before the Lord, your God, 3 times a year. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with anything leavened, and the sacrifice of the feast of Passover shall not be left lying until morning. The choice first fruits of your soil you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his word. I'll just make this comment and I'll open it up. As I said, when I was reading it over again to get familiar with the verses again, I started in the 12th, and I just felt Moses pleading with the Lord. I just pleading to know him, because he says, you see, and he said, you say to me, lead this people forward, but you have not made known to me whom you will send with me. Further, you said, I have singled you out by name, and you have indeed gained my favor. Now, if I truly gained your favor, pray let me know your ways, that I may know you and continue in your favor. It's something that we each should strive for. We want to know him so that we do continue in his favor. That's why knowing what he likes, and the fact that he told us to remember the Passover and to do this is what he likes, and to remember the 7th-day Sabbath, this is what God likes. And so we know that, we go ahead and we do that, because in doing that we get to know him more, and we become a part of him more. And I felt Moses's, I don't know if you call it pain or his anguish, or he just needed to know more. And I guess sometimes with us it seems that we want to know more. We want to be sure that we are on the right path. our cry out to God is show us that we're on the right path. Please, Lord, speak to us. And I think during this Passover that we should let him know that, speak to us, so we know that we're on the right path and that we are following after what you want us to do. We don't want to just be out there doing the wrong thing or going the wrong direction. Show us, Lord, show us. And so I'll open it up for you all to discuss. I'll get my notes from the last time. I don't think I felt that such the same thing the last time when we were reading, because it's from Kitase is the Parsha where this reading came from. And when I'll just say this. When one of the notes I made during that time was again, I did write down that he's pleading with the Lord, if I really gain favor with you, let me know your ways. And also I put the note down the last time, he's asking God to distinguish himself from other gods, because remember we discussed that the gods or the idols, there's always another requirement. They never tell you what is required of them. It's something new all the time. If something doesn't happen, then they always put the onus back on you, that you didn't do what you were required to do, and that you have to go the extra step, and you have to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. When God, in the person of Yeshua, Jesus, has said, I will do that. You want a covering for your sin? I'll be the covering for your sin. You can't do it because you're a sinful creature, but I will do it. And how will you know that? And I'm telling you that I'm doing it. That's enough. The only thing you have to do is believe on what I'm doing. That's the only thing you have to do. You don't have to go out and sacrifice yourself, because your sacrifice is not worth anything, because you're a sinful creature. But believe in what I've done. That's the only thing you have to do. There's nothing added, nothing new, no higher heights to jump, nothing. Just believe on my death and suffering and resurrection on the third day. Believe that I did that in order to cover sins. That's all you have to do. That's it. I open it up.
I underlined this one part. Says, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. Now, I think this is God talking to Moses, and he's saying that I've established a relationship with you. What Moses wants to know and to find out and be sure of, has God established a relationship with the people, and he wants to know if that grace, and I want to say mercy as well, although mercy isn't in here, it also extends to the people. God always speaks to Moses directly. In the first part of the verse is, Moses is talking to God directly. And it says, I'll repeat what God said to him, bring up this people. And Moses wants God to make a commitment to these people, and or a promise to these people that he will always be with them, and to set up that relationship. He also wants them to go, and I hope I don't get too far ahead here. I made a note here. That if God doesn't go with them, he would rather remain here.
Yes.
The reason being, if God doesn't go and they end up in the land, who gets credit? They get credit for themselves. They get credit they credit themselves for going to the land.
Mm-hmm.
Or outsiders will say, wow, that great people, they got themselves out of Egypt and they came to this land, that must be a great people. God doesn't get the glory for that.
Mm-hmm.
Only if God goes with them and stays with them continuously throughout all their generations, even though way later on it talks about how stiff-necked they are and how disobedient they are. God still has to stay with them to show that He is still their God. He's still fighting for them. They're still prevailing only because of Him. But part of it has to do with trying to establish a connection between, not just between Moses and God, but the people and God. I may have something to say later on, but so far, that's about all I got so far.
That's a lot. That's a lot, because I like that you mentioned that Moses said to him, if you don't go with us.
No, we may as well stay here.
Yeah, stay here.
Because otherwise, you're not going to get the glory for it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't go with us and you don't display yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that I think we all strive for, and that's the foreshadowing of what Christ did for us. But He should always get the glory for our salvation and redemption.
Yes.
It's not any
Yes.
works of ours, as you mentioned earlier.
No, it's not. We cannot do it. We can, nothing we can do. We can't obey enough of the laws. Number one, we are sinners. We've all sinned. So you can't obey the law. You can't to its perfection, because we're all sinners. You've already broken the law somehow. So in that, we need a perfect sacrifice. And that perfect sacrifice, this whole Passover thing, that they remember, God with us, again, we have to be rehearsed over and over again, because if you don't, you'll know that you lose it, because you'll come up with something else, and something else did come in, where we have this sacrifice, or this disconnect, and then in its place we have Easter, which has nothing to do with it, which cannot explain the story of redemption. The story of redemption is explained from the Passover. It even back then, it talked about blood sacrifice, about the lamb blood being on the lintel, as we said during Passover, and that lamb's blood on the lintel was a sign, so the angel of death will pass over us. And that the fact that we have accepted Jesus' death and resurrection is a sign, and that we have that covering, because without that covering, we can't go before God. We will be consumed. And it is the Lamb of God who gave us our covering, so that we could boldly go before God. Like here, where Moses is saying to God, "I want to see your face," and God is saying to him, "You can't see my face. No man can see my face and live, but I'll let you see the back of me." And so that's what it's all about. Is that the Messiah's death and suffering and resurrection is so that we can see God face to face. And it's a lot to be said for being able to see God face to face. Sinful creatures though we are, we're able to do it because we've accepted the sacrifice of Jesus. And so we could go before the Father face to face. We could see Him because of the sacrifice. And that's what Passover is all about. It's not it can't be disconnected and be out on its own. It is part of what happened to Israel, and the story is explained.
You brought up something interesting, and one commentator mentioned it, and I said, no, I didn't believe him at first. But I've said this before, when Moses passed by, when God passed by Moses and he saw God's back, I said, you see God through what He has done. I'm not so sure about that. what happened? But I think I know what it seemed to fit. I think I know what Moses saw when he saw God's back. You want to know what he saw?
What?
When Christ was on the cross, I don't know if people used that expression before. They said God turned his back on
Oh,
him.
yeah, yeah.
So when God saw Moses' back, who did he see? He saw Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a split, maybe it's not, but it seemed to make sense.
Yes.
But he was forsaken.
Yes.
So in a sense, when you're forsaken,
Your back is turned.
you turn your back.
Yeah.
And when the back was turned, we saw Jesus. Now, one other thing too.
Now that's deep, John. I'm just digesting that, Bucky.
Well, the other part too. God was concealed also in Christ too. You know.
Yeah, I get you.
No,
Keep on.
Keep on. That's about all of it. Yeah.
That I just chewed and swallowed that. When Jesus said it, when he I forgot who he was talking to. He said, "If you've seen me, you've seen the Father."
Right.
And they were able to see him and not be burnt. So you're right. That's who Moses saw.
That's who Moses saw.
He saw the Messiah. He's able to see him without being consumed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was able to see him.
That's what he saw. And essentially, if you see the works of, and what is Christ, but the works of God.
Yes. He said he's God's representative.
Yeah.
He's not God, but he is his representative. What he does, he's like, you see me, you see the Father. And he did. He saw what he was able to see. Remember, we also studied when the 70 elders went up to see God and have the supper at the Israel. And it said in Hebrew that they saw him face to face. Perhaps they saw Messiah Jesus. Because they wouldn't be able to see the Father without being consumed, but they could see Jesus.
Mm-hmm. True.
That is a lot. You just said something really deep. Didn't think of it. Didn't think of that. So that's who they saw. They saw the Messiah. They saw the Messiah. They saw the Messiah. And because of his sacrifice, again, that relationship has been reestablished for us like it was in the Garden of Eden where Adam saw God face to face. That the relationship has been reestablished. And we too can boldly go before him without fearing being consumed because of our sins.
Right.
That is it. And that's when we were talking, John. I think we were discussing this, and you were saying that perhaps heaven is for sinners will be for them to be with someone they don't want to be with for eternity.
No, I didn't say heaven was that. Hell was that.
Oh hell. And but also you think that if they were to they can't be near God because they will be consumed. Because God can't be. I mean, his mere presence will consume sin, will burn it to a crisp. And so that's why, again, we need a covering going into the next world. If we don't have it, God has to protect us from it because it will consume us.
Well, there's more than one reason. Well, I was just saying that for someone who does not like God, to be forced in his presence would be a hell.
It would be a living hell. A hell, yeah. They wouldn't be able to survive it.
Probably true. But it would get worse and worse as time goes by. Time never ends.
No, never end.
Yeah.
But
so doing them a kindness, finding a place for them
to be away from
would be an act of mercy.
Exactly. And that's what hell is. But the fact you just said that Moses saw Jesus. He saw Jesus. He saw Jesus. He saw Jesus. And we just thank him for this time of year. We thank God for this time of year, this Passover. And we know that God is going to reveal more of himself to us. He has not turned his back on us. He's going to reveal more of himself to us. We know that by Joel the prophet. Joel the prophet said, in the last days, young men will dream dreams, old men will see visions. That I got the other way around. That this is what's happening. That we are going to experience just as greater things as Israel did, because only God can help us now. The world has gotten so turned around. God is our only hope. And we trust in him. And so we'll take a break and I'll set out the meal. And again, I was looking at some things on the internet just regarding the meals. And again, this meal is so important because it's a covenant. It seals the covenant. We're in the middle of Passover where we eat the meal, eating the big Seder, which seal the covenant. The 7th-day Sabbath seals the covenant. And on the 8th day, another meal to seal the covenant. And we gladly take part in this food that is he has given to us as in the Passover Seder. It's because of his beneficence. I love that word after we're saying grace after meals. Because of his beneficence, he has given us this food to partake in. He's given us the matzah. We've been eating the matzah because he commanded us to do it. And we've been doing it. And we do it wholeheartedly. We don't know why. We don't know the exact significance. But we do it because he commanded us to do it. And we said, Lord, we're doing as you commanded. Lord, be merciful to us. Show us yourself, Lord God. Show us yourself like Moses did. Show us what to do, Father. And go with us as we go on this journey. Okay, I'll present the rest of the meal and then we can discuss it more. If this, and you don't have to just stick on this particular Parsha, the scripture reading, you can talk about the Passover in general or whatever comes to your mind. Or the season of our liberation, as I'll term it that. It is the season of our liberation. We are liberated. We are no longer slaves to sin. Just as the Israelis, the Hebrews were no longer slaves to Pharaoh, they were a new kind of slave, if you want to say that. They were a servant to the Most High God because they became an army. When they left Egypt, they became an army of the God of Israel. They became an army. No, that was bold. That was deep.
Yeah.
You can say some deep stuff sometimes.
Well, I have a lot of help.
That was deep.
I have a lot of help. But what we did mention was that God did grant Moses' request. And 17 says, so the Lord said to Moses, I will also do this thing that you have spoken.
Yes.
For you have found grace in my sight. Moses found grace.
Yes.
And I know you by name. It repeats that one more
Yes. Oh, isn't that because he's written in the Lamb book? He knows his name. It's not so important that we know God's name as whether he knows our name.
Yeah.
That's
This
the
is,
important part.
I think, but Moses also talking about the people corporately, not necessarily individually just yet. The nation of Israel, not the individual people in the nation. But yeah, God knowing you by name is a very significant thing. People use that expression, You know, you might know the president, but that won't get you in the White House. But
Right.
if the president knows you, you can
Right.
get in. So, I think that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you might know God, but does God know you?
Does God know you? Is your name written in the Lamb's book?
Mhm.
So, let me get my other, I just, it talk about, liberation. And, I remember they used that term when the Jewish people were liberated from the concentration camps during World War II.
Mm.
That it was, can you imagine after having been again enslaved, because they really were enslaved,
Mhm.
and then being liberated, when they were liberated, that many things happened. Again, I guess almost like when you think about it, they were, this time, as part of the liberation, the creation of the modern day state of Israel was begun again. It wasn't, I should say creation, the continuation, because Israel had always been a state. It was just a state with its people dispersed, but it always had a land.
Mhm.
But here, after this liberation from, again, the slavery, they again go back to the land and start up where God had taken them before. And their liberation. And the God talks of the second liberation, again when they are going back to the land this time, that it would be greater than the first time, than them going back to Egypt, that this new return to the land will be far greater and far more miraculous.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because it has to be, when you consider that getting them there in order to create the state of Israel was miraculous, but also it was so heart-wrenching because so many of them died before going there, before the nation, the state was again allowed to continue.
Mhm.
But this time, when God says, he says in Ezekiel, I will bring them back from all the places they've been scattered. And he means that because it's not in God's will for Israel to be out of the land. So he will bring them back. And in order for him to continue that process, it will have to be probably just as dramatic or more than what happened at the beginning of the state of Israel. But that's my opinion.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't read it in the Bible. So,
Let's make some comments about 34. One of the commentators said, and I think I brushed it aside. Now that I think about it more, oh yeah, I had let mine go.
oh yeah, I'm gonna do this.
I have to rethink it. The first set of tablets were broken,
Mm-hmm.
and Moses broke them. And he's saying that it perhaps symbolizes the first set of tablets that were broken.
Mm-hmm.
Is drawing a parallel. That man broke them, Moses broke them, man broke the tablets. They broke them because the guys had sinned. They made the golden calf. And the next set, in fact, the first set, God cut the stones,
Right.
and wrote the commandments on there. The second set, Moses had to cut out the stone, cut out the tablets, or he had someone do it. And almost immediately, the next day, he had to take them up, and God was going to write them on there. And that was, the second set was the ones that were put in the ark, not broken. And I think the parallel he's trying to draw is that man broke the first set of commandments, requiring another set of commandments. The second set of commandments were fulfilled in Christ. They weren't broken. They
Right.
were fulfilled.
Right.
So if those habits are still around now, they probably are. They're probably still unbroken.
Yes.
And actually, won't need them now because they're fulfilled through Christ. But I think the symbolism they were trying to draw is that the first set of tablets were broken, and the second set were fulfilled in Christ. And the unbroken ones were put inside the ark. Maybe the first set could not have been put inside the ark, so maybe Moses did or something. As far as symbolism is concerned.
Right. You on the road tonight, Bucky?
Well, I had some help.
All right.
So should I mention about the
Go for it.
Mount Sinai had another name too, and I forgot. Horeb?
Horeb?
Was it that name?
I don't know. Let me see.
Okay, I'm not gonna say that. But sometimes it's called Sinai, sometimes it's
Oh,
called
It seemed like it did. Sometimes, well, tell you what, let's just find out. Seemed like one of our lessons mentioned them. That Sinai had two names.
Yeah. Earlier, people did go into the mountain. But now that Moses went up the second time and said, nope, nobody goes onto the mountain. Don't even let your animals feed on the mountain. The idea is there was that sin problem that cropped in. The sin has to be taken care of first.
Right.
Before anyone can go up to the mountain. And I was saying to you, the animals feeding, well, what would that be a problem? Well, if the animal starts feeding on the mountain, he goes up, someone's going to run after the animal to grab him off the mountain. So that would be a problem there too. But when God is on that mountain, it's called Sinai. And in other places that people go up on it, it's called Horeb.
They said that they consider it to be the same place.
Okay, consider that. So, but sometimes it's called Sinai, sometimes probably Horeb. Same mountain, but depending on who's there, they'll get a different name.
Well, like on if the president is flying
On an airplane.
on an airplane, other than Air Force One, it's still Air Force One.
Yeah.
Because the president is flying on it.
Yeah. Air Force One is the plane he's flying on, no matter what airplane.
No matter what airplane it is.
Mm-hmm.
Air Force One.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe when I hope this doesn't sound funny, maybe when they call in the Torah Sinai, that means God is home. Maybe when they call it Horeb, he's not there. He's out of town or something.
Oh yeah. Makes sense. I think I cut my reading short, but let's see what else I have here. I think this verse 6 is when God fulfills the request of Moses to see him when he makes these proclamations. When it speaks of mercy and grace. And the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering, and abounding in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquities and trespasses and sin, by no means clearing the guilty. So, he is merciful, but not sure what. Clearing the guilty, I guess, if you're guilty, he's not going to figure out a way to get you off. You're not going to be cleared from any charges if you are guilty.
Right.
Innocent, yeah, found guilty.
Very good, Jay.
And he wants them to be taken, and this is, I guess, Moses reestablishing a relationship, or want this relationship between him and God and the people. That's, instead of he's saying your people or this people, he uses the phrase, and take us as your inheritance. So he includes himself in there now. He says, take us. God's inheritance. A distinct people, still distinct from this
People on
day
earth.
forward. Yeah, and for anyone on earth, even to this day. Stiff-necked, rebellious, you name it. But I don't know if we're much different.
No. Not at all.
So I don't think I got much further than that.
You did a good job. We're gonna let you do the Torah portion every week now.
As I said, I got a lot of help. I even underlined the last verse in that Bible. I know why I stopped short. I thought you were printing out some stuff, and I thought you would have some more explanations, and I could use that.
Oh, you want?
So you printed something out, and I thought those were some commentaries about it. So I didn't start till late in the day anyway. So it's still interesting.
I think so too. The whole Exodus.
The problem, there was one thing, he does say, show me your ways. I think I'm kind of still a little tripped up on that. Glory, yes. But that kind of spells it out, so show me your ways. And it wasn't as elaborate as he said, show me your glory. Other than the relationship part. Or even grace is a part of it. Well, and Sarah had some help. I don't know if I would have started a Sabbath study, other than myself, only a self-study. I said, good.
Only what now?
I don't know if I would have started a Shabbat study.
When?
I don't know if I would have without you starting it.
A Shabbat study.
Mm-hmm. The Bible lessons we do.
Oh.
every week. I call it a Shabbat study. I can't think of
The Parsha and
Parsha for the week. It was called another name too.
well, the guy call it table talk. When it's something about this meal. We don't fully understand it, but it's something about this meal. And maybe when you consider that people sacrifice to idols, maybe it was something about that. Maybe it's something there, that the importance of this meal, that there is something about it. And
Mm-hmm.
we just, maybe we've been missing out for so long because we haven't been doing it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Where we start. You got something else?
No.
Huh?
No, that's that.
Well, we like I said, this is not like the regular Parsha. This is more of a continuation of the Seder, and from Monday night, and also just to remind you, when he proclaimed the name of God, he proclaimed the Yud Hey Vav Hey, the so-called unutterable name of God. So this is very significant. And we continue on with the Feast of the Unleavened Bread by eating the matzah and enjoying that and doing as God has said. And then we will again close out his 8-day festival, but not close out in the sense that it's done. We look forward to Shavuot, or Pentecost, as probably the church knows, the giving of the Torah. When we had the Parsha, we did this on March 17th, the Kitase. Which was regarding the census, counting the census. At the end, we sang a song, and I think we'll sing it because of the appropriateness. No, we'll sing one verse of it, and then we'll sing another song that people usually sing around Easter. But we sang because of what God did for Moses. He hit him in the cleft of the rock. We'll sing the chorus of Rock of Ages. Rock of Ages, clap for me. Let me hide myself in thee. Let the water and the blood from thy wounded side which flowed be of sin the double cure. Save from wrath and make me pure. And we'll sing another song. Let me make sure I do the chorus. Up from the grave he arose. You should remember the verse. It starts, lo, in the grave he lay, Jesus, my Savior, waiting my Lord. Up from the grave he arose, with the mighty triumph o'er his foes. He arose a victor from the dark domain, and he lives forever with the saints to reign. He arose, hallelujah, Christ arose. Amen. He has risen,
He has risen indeed.
and he stands at the right hand of the Father, making intercession for us. He is risen already. Yes, he has. All right, we did good. And thank you for joining us for this Parsha during this Chol HaMoed. Shavua Tov. Have a good week, and please join us next week for the Parsha Shemini. Shabbat Shalom.